Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in life when your words carry the power of creation. A time when what you say does not merely echo through the room, but shakes the very fabric of the universe around you. I stand before you today to remind you that your tongue can unlock the doors your hands have knocked on for years. The phrase we speak today, just 3 times, is not magic, but faith in motion. It's not superstition, it's spiritual alignment. When you declare it, you are not begging the universe. You are commanding it to remember who you are. Because when your words are born out of belief, even heaven listens. The power of spoken faith is not simply about saying something out loud. It is about breathing life into what you believe before you ever see it happen. When you open your mouth and speak faith into existence, you are doing more than using language. You are invoking divine energy. Every word carries a vibration, and when that vibration is filled with conviction, it becomes a living force moving through the unseen world, aligning situations, people, and timing to work in your favor. Faith-filled words are not random. They are seeds planted in the soil of time, and when nourished by belief, patience, and gratitude, they bloom into the miracles you once imagined in silence. When you speak faith, you declare that fear no longer rules your mind. You announce to the heavens that you refuse to be limited by what your eyes see. Spoken faith defies logic because it operates in a higher realm, where the invisible is more real than the visible. You may not see change immediately, but the moment you speak it with conviction, the shift begins. The air around you changes, your energy changes, and the path before you begins to form in response to your declaration. This is why so many people remain stuck. They keep their belief quiet, hidden in the heart, never daring to release it into the world through words. But your voice is an instrument of creation. It was given to you for more than conversation. It was given to you for manifestation. Think about it. Every great move of faith began with words. God spoke and there was light. The prophets spoke and nations were moved. Jesus spoke and the dead rose. The pattern has never changed. Words precede wonders. And when you, a child of that same divine power, speak in faith, you are participating in that same sacred rhythm. That means the moment you say, I am healed, something begins to respond to that truth within your body. When you say, I am provided for, the forces of abundance begin to rearrange themselves around your situation. The world responds to the sound of your belief, not to the noise of your doubt. Faith must be spoken because silence is often the language of fear. When fear grips the heart, it convinces you to keep quiet, to not look foolish, to wait until you see proof. But spoken faith reverses that order. It demands that you speak before you see, believe before you know, act before you understand. That's where its power lies. It's the willingness to speak light while standing in darkness, to say yes while surrounded by no, to declare open doors while staring at walls. This is what separates those who only wish from those who manifest. Spoken faith moves mountains because it moves the heart first. When you release a faith-filled word, you are not trying to convince the world. You are reminding your spirit of what it already knows. You are aligning your inner world with divine truth. Every time you speak in faith, your mind begins to adjust to that frequency. You start to think differently, stand differently, act differently. You begin to attract people and opportunities that resonate with what you've declared. Your words call them in. That's why Dr. Maya always said, words are things. They live, they breathe, they settle in your house, on your skin, in your life. They can bless or they can bruise. So choose words that heal, uplift, and open doors. The power of spoken faith lies not in the volume of your voice, but in the purity of your heart. You could whisper a declaration, and if it's rooted in truth, it will echo through eternity. Faith does not need an audience. It needs authenticity. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be sincere. You can stand alone in your room with tears on your face and trembling lips and still command the universe to move. Because faith is not about emotion. It's about authority. You have been given authority through your words, and the moment you believe that, your entire reality begins to obey you. But too often, people speak faith once and give up when nothing happens. They forget that spoken faith is not a one-time act, but a lifestyle. Every day, every moment, you must continue to affirm what you believe. Speak it when you feel it. Speak it when you don't. Speak it when everything falls apart. Because each time you do, you are building spiritual momentum. You are sending ripples through the atmosphere, and those ripples will eventually return as waves of blessing. The delay is not denial. It is development. The universe is aligning itself to your frequency. There will be times when the words you speak seem powerless, when you look around and nothing matches your declaration. But that's exactly when your spoken faith is being tested. It's easy to speak when the sun is shining, but real faith is spoken in the storm. It's spoken in hospital rooms, in unemployment lines, in moments of heartbreak and confusion. Those are the moments that define your spiritual strength. Because when you can speak, "I am victorious," while standing in defeat, the heavens take notice. Your faith has been proven genuine, and nothing can resist a genuine word spoken in unwavering belief. The power of spoken faith also lies in its consistency. Just as a seed needs watering, your declarations need repetition. Every time you repeat a faith-filled statement, you reinforce it in your subconscious. You reprogram your mind to expect victory instead of defeat. The human mind is designed to follow the direction of repeated thought. If you keep saying, "I can't," your life will agree. But if you keep saying, "I can," "I will," "it is done," then your world begins to reshape itself according to that conviction. That's why you must guard your tongue. It is the steering wheel of your destiny. And let me remind you, spoken faith doesn't ignore reality. It transcends it. It acknowledges the challenge, but refuses to bow to it. It says, "Yes, the mountain is big, but my God is bigger." It doesn't pretend the door is open when it's closed. It simply declares that it will open because it must. Spoken faith does not deny the facts. It declares the higher truth. And truth always overpowers fact when fueled by belief. That's why you must never underestimate the simple act of speaking life over your circumstances. It's not small. It's not cliché. It's the foundation of transformation. Your words create emotional patterns, and those patterns determine your energy. When you speak faith, your energy becomes magnetic. You attract people who encourage, situations that favor, and opportunities that align. The universe bends toward those who declare with confidence. The door that was closed yesterday begins to creak open tomorrow, not because the lock changed, but because your vibration did. Faith spoken out loud shifts your internal frequency until the external world matches it. That is divine law. That is why miracles respond to the sound of certainty. There's a divine rhythm to faith. It begins in the heart, rises to the lips, and echoes into the world. That echo returns as manifestation. It is a cycle of creation. Believe, speak, receive, repeat. And once you understand this rhythm, you realize that you don't need to chase blessings. You simply need to speak them into alignment. Your words are the keys that fit doors you've been praying to open. So when you speak faith, speak with intention. Don't say it halfway. Don't mumble it in doubt. Declare it like it's already done, because in the spiritual realm it already is. Every time you speak faith, you are affirming partnership with the divine. You're saying, I trust you enough to echo what you've promised. And that echo becomes your reality. The world listens to those who speak in the language of faith, because faith is the native tongue of creation. You were born with that language, it's time to use it again. Stop repeating fear. Stop rehearsing pain. Speak faith until the mountain moves, until the light returns, until the door opens. Because when you truly understand the power of spoken faith, silence becomes impossible. You will know that your voice was never ordinary. It was sacred, it was chosen, it was creative. There is a rhythm between heaven and earth that few people ever learn to hear. It is the rhythm of divine timing, the invisible pulse of God's plan moving through the corridors of time, and the rhythm of human declaration, the moment your voice meets His purpose. When those two rhythms align, something miraculous happens. Doors that were sealed begin to open. Pathways that were hidden begin to reveal themselves, and what once felt delayed begins to accelerate with ease. Divine timing is never late and never early, it is always perfect. But it requires faith to trust that what you speak in the present will bloom in its appointed season. When you declare in alignment with that timing, your words no longer struggle to manifest. They flow effortlessly, because they are synchronized with the will of heaven. Many people speak words of faith, but their spirit is out of alignment with the time appointed for that manifestation. They want the harvest before the seed has taken root. They speak prosperity but still entertain thoughts of lack. They declare love but harbor resentment in their hearts. True alignment means your words, your energy, and your faith all vibrate at the same frequency as the divine plan already set for your life. You cannot force divine timing, but you can prepare for it. You can cultivate the right heart, the right discipline, and the right patience so that when the moment arrives, your declaration fits perfectly into the door that was meant to open. Divine timing teaches us that every delay has a purpose. Sometimes heaven holds back not because you are unworthy, but because the environment is not ready to sustain your blessing. You may speak and nothing seems to move. You may declare and still find yourself waiting. But waiting is not wasted time, it is preparation time. While you wait, your faith is stretched, your character refined, and your perspective widened. The divine does not deny, it develops. It aligns your heart so that when you finally receive what you've been speaking, you won't lose it through immaturity or impatience. The power of declaration is not just in speaking. It's in speaking from a heart that trusts the pace of God. When divine timing and human declaration meet, it is like two rivers joining to form one mighty current. The energy multiplies. Your words gain authority because they are backed by divine permission. Every word you speak in faith carries weight, but when you speak in the right season, it carries wings. It travels faster, reaches farther, and accomplishes what would have taken years in moments. That is the mystery of alignment. It turns effort into ease and striving into flow. When your spirit is aligned with God's rhythm, you don't chase miracles, they find you. You don't beg for doors to open, they swing open at your arrival because heaven recognizes its own timing in your declaration. Alignment is a quiet knowing. It is that still voice inside that whispers, wait a little longer. When everything in you wants to rush ahead, it's the wisdom to pause before speaking, to listen before acting, to sense before declaring. Because a declaration out of alignment can lead to disappointment. You might speak something true, But if it's spoken too soon, the energy dissipates before it can mature. Just as fruit must ripen before it's eaten, your words must mature in divine timing before they manifest. This is why patience is not a weakness. It is a spiritual superpower. Patience allows your declaration to anchor itself in divine order. Every powerful life you've ever admired was shaped by this alignment. Joseph had dreams, but he spoke them before the time was ripe, and it led him through betrayal and prison before fulfillment. Yet every setback was a part of divine timing, bringing him to the very throne those dreams had promised. David was anointed as king long before he wore the crown, but he spoke and lived with the humility that allowed the timing to unfold. Even Jesus waited for his hour. There is power in knowing your time, in feeling the pulse of heaven and letting your declaration move in harmony with it. When you declare something, you are not merely announcing your desire, you are entering into a conversation with the divine. You say, and heaven responds, it shall be. But that dialogue requires rhythm. You cannot rush God's answers any more than you can force the sun to rise early. Each word spoken in faith enters a process. The process may involve silence, struggle, or even stillness. That does not mean your words have been ignored. It means they are being cultivated in the unseen. The roots are growing deeper before the bloom appears. The alignment is taking place behind the scenes. And when everything comes together, your declaration will meet its appointed hour and manifest so naturally that you will wonder why you ever worried. To align your declaration with divine timing, you must learn to listen deeply. Faith is not just speaking. It is listening for the whispers of the Spirit that tell you when to speak, how to speak, and what to declare. Some moments call for silence, others for bold proclamation. Some require stillness, others action. Discernment is the bridge between your declaration and divine timing. It is what allows you to sense when the atmosphere is ready. The difference between success and struggle often lies not in what you say, but in when you say it. The same word spoken out of season can fall flat, but spoken in divine alignment, it can move mountains. The alignment between divine timing and human declaration is also about surrender. To align means to trust that your declaration does not have to happen on your schedule. It's knowing that the universe is never in a hurry, yet everything is accomplished. When you speak and nothing happens, don't assume failure, assume formation. The timing is forming around your word, weaving together events, people, and circumstances to support what you've declared. The divine is never late, only precise. Your declaration sets the intention, divine timing sets the manifestation. Too many people quit in the middle of the process because they confuse delay with denial. They stop declaring because they don't see results. But what they don't realize is that their words have already been registered in the spiritual realm. The moment you speak in faith, the command is given. The process begins. The only task left is to keep believing until the visible matches the invisible. Alignment doesn't require constant shouting, it requires consistent faith. Speak once with conviction, and then live like it's already done. That's alignment. Your thoughts, words, and actions all moving in the same direction as divine flow. This harmony between divine and human is the essence of co-creation. You are not creating alone, and God is not creating without you. It is a partnership. Your declaration is the seed, divine timing is the soil, and patience is the rain. Together they produce the harvest. Each part is necessary. You cannot skip the waiting season any more than a farmer can skip the growing season. The timing refines you while preparing the world to receive what you've asked for. And when it arrives, It won't feel forced. It will feel destined. You will recognize it instantly because it will carry peace, not pressure. When your declaration is aligned with divine timing, it also brings clarity. You stop doubting whether you're on the right path. You stop comparing your journey to others. You begin to trust that what's meant for you will meet you when you're ready. You no longer need to grasp or compete. You simply prepare. You work on your faith, your character, your discipline, your gratitude. Because the universe doesn't reward impatience. It rewards readiness. The moment your inner world matches the frequency of what you've spoken, divine timing clicks into place like a key in a lock, and the door opens with ease. Even nature teaches this alignment. The tide does not rush before the moon calls it. Flowers do not bloom before the sun rises. Seasons do not overlap, they transition in perfect order. In the same way, your life moves according to sacred timing. You can shout, cry, or complain, but until the appointed hour, nothing will move. Yet when that hour arrives, nothing can stop it. That's why faith must be steady. It keeps you in alignment while time does its work. Your declaration is a seed of eternity planted in the soil of time, and divine timing is the gardener that ensures it blooms when it should. This alignment also requires trust in the silence. There will be stretches when you declare and hear nothing back. The silence is not absence, it is calibration. Heaven is aligning the circumstances, testing your persistence, building your spiritual muscles. Can you keep speaking life when life feels lifeless? Can you hold on to your declaration when the evidence says otherwise? Those are the questions that refine your faith, because divine timing is not only about the world getting ready, it's about you becoming ready. Sometimes the delay exists because you have not yet become the person who can sustain what you've declared. The moment you align with divine timing, your declaration gains divine endorsement. Things begin to move that were once immovable. Favor follows you without effort. People who once ignored you begin to notice. Doors open without knocking. You begin to realize that what you were chasing was already waiting for you. You just had to become synchronized with it. The greatest miracles are not the result of striving. They are the result of alignment. It is a dance between heaven's rhythm and human faith, and when you learn to move with it, your life becomes a living testimony of grace. The alignment between divine timing and human declaration is also about humility. It's the understanding that though you have power in your words, you do not control the clock. You participate, but you do not dictate. You cooperate, but you do not command the universe. You trust that the same divine intelligence that hung the stars knows when your light should shine. And when it does, it will be worth every moment of waiting, every tear, every prayer whispered in faith. Because when timing and declaration meet, manifestation is inevitable, and destiny becomes undeniable. Repetition is not redundancy, it is reinforcement. It is the way the Spirit reminds the universe of its certainty. When you say something once, it is heard. When you say it twice, it begins to move. But when you say it 3 times with faith, it becomes law in the realm of creation. Repetition is the language of belief. It is how your soul trains your reality to obey your conviction. The act of saying something 3 times is not superstition. It is sacred synchronization. It is your way of aligning mind, body, and spirit to speak one truth in perfect harmony. The number 3 carries divine energy because it mirrors the structure of existence, birth, life, and renewal, mind, body, and soul, Father, Son, and Spirit. When you speak a truth 3 times, you echo creation's rhythm. You affirm that it is, it will be, and it has always been. Every time you repeat a word of faith, You carve it deeper into your consciousness. You imprint it upon your heart until it becomes part of your identity. That is why affirmation works, not because of magic, but because of mastery. The more you repeat something, the more your brain begins to accept it as reality. You begin to see it, feel it, and act like it's already true. The subconscious mind does not argue with repetition. It obeys it. So when you speak life 3 times, you are programming your inner world to expect blessings, not burdens. And when your inner world shifts, the outer world follows suit. Repetition as a spiritual practice transforms words from sounds into substance. The first time you speak, you are sowing the seed. The second time, you are watering it. The third time, you are commanding it to grow. It is a process of spiritual momentum. With each repetition, the energy builds until it becomes unstoppable. You might not see the change instantly, but in the unseen, the vibration of your words is gathering force. It is shaping circumstances, rearranging possibilities, and calling forth alignment. Repetition is how you remind heaven that you have not forgotten what you asked for, and it is how heaven knows you are ready to receive. When you say something 3 times, it is not for God's memory, it is for yours. It disciplines your heart to focus, to believe, and to expect. Every repetition silences a layer of doubt. It quiets the noise of fear and strengthens the foundation of faith. Each time you speak the same truth, you are chiseling away the stone of disbelief. You are telling the world, I will not change my word until my word changes my world. That persistence is what separates those who merely wish from those who manifest. Faith without repetition is fragile, but faith repeated becomes unbreakable. There is something sacred in the rhythm of saying a thing over and over again. It creates a heartbeat between you and the divine. When you repeat a declaration, you are breathing with the Spirit. Inhale faith, exhale fear. Inhale hope, exhale worry. That rhythm becomes your prayer. The more you repeat, the more natural it becomes, until your declaration is no longer something you say, it becomes who you are. When you say, all doors will open 3 times, you are not just predicting your future, you are announcing your identity. You are declaring that you are someone whose faith moves barriers, whose words carry keys, whose belief commands movement. Repetition also creates resonance. The universe responds to frequency, not desperation. When you say something repeatedly with emotion, belief, and clarity, you create a vibration strong enough to alter reality. Everything around you begins to rearrange itself to match that vibration. That is why repetition must come from sincerity. Empty words repeated carry no power, but faith-filled repetition shakes the atmosphere. When your heart and your words agree, even the unseen begins to listen. The more you speak it, the louder your belief becomes, and the louder your belief becomes, the quicker your manifestation finds you. 3 is the number of completion, of divine establishment. When you say something 3 times, you are stamping it with authority. It is as if you are writing a decree in heaven and signing it with your voice. Once, twice, thrice. It is sealed. That is why the ancients prayed in 3s, why blessings were repeated in 3s, why the greatest affirmations in scripture and in wisdom were spoken 3 times. It is not random. It is rhythm. It is alignment. It is the body joining the soul to echo the Spirit's truth. When you repeat, you reinforce. When you reinforce, you materialize. But repetition is not just about words, it's about consistency of energy. You cannot say one thing with your mouth and feel another in your heart. The power of repetition lies in agreement. Each time you repeat a statement, your emotions, thoughts, and intentions must come closer to alignment. The first time you might feel uncertain, the second time hopeful, the third time unshakable. Repetition refines your faith. It purifies it from hesitation. It turns fragile hope into firm conviction. And once conviction is formed, manifestation becomes inevitable. Repetition teaches discipline. It is a spiritual training ground. The practice of speaking the same truth daily, even when nothing changes, strengthens your faith muscles. It teaches you to hold steady under pressure, to repeat, "I am enough," in moments of self-doubt, to repeat, "I am healed," in moments of pain, to repeat, "Doors are opening," in moments of delay. That is spiritual resilience. You are not trying to convince anyone else. You are conditioning your soul to stand in belief until the world catches up. That is the true art of repetition. It builds endurance for the journey between declaration and fulfillment. Repetition also breaks resistance. The mind is naturally resistant to change, especially when you've lived in fear or limitation for a long time. But repetition wears down that resistance. Every time you declare faith, you chip away at the walls that hold you back. You begin to rewrite the script of your identity. What once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. The very cells in your body begin to align with your declaration. Your energy shifts, your aura strengthens, and your presence changes. You start walking differently, speaking differently, expecting differently. That is the silent miracle of repetition. It changes you before it changes your world. Saying something 3 times also honors the process of manifestations. The first is intention, the second is affirmation, the third is confirmation. When you speak the first time, you set the intention, what you desire. When you speak the second time, you affirm it. You strengthen your belief. When you speak the third time, you confirm it. You release it to the universe, trusting it will return multiplied. This threefold process balances effort with surrender. You do your part, then you trust the divine to do the rest. It is a dance of participation and peace. Think of repetition as tuning an instrument. The more you repeat your faith statements, the more you fine-tune your energy. If your frequency wavers, your manifestation wavers. But repetition keeps you steady. It keeps your vibration pure and strong. The universe responds to that steadiness like a song drawn to its harmony. That's why you cannot speak once and stop. You must keep declaring until your words sing with truth. Repetition does not mean doubt. It means devotion. You are saying, "I believe this so deeply that I will keep speaking it until it becomes flesh." Repetition also connects you to generations of faith that came before you. Our ancestors understood this principle. They prayed in rhythm, sang in chants, spoke in affirmations. Their words carried power not because they shouted louder, but because they repeated longer. They understood that repetition was the rope that tied heaven to earth, that each echo of faith pulled the divine closer into human reality. When you repeat, you join that lineage of spiritual creators. You honor the same power that turned words into worlds. But repetition must come from awareness. Mindless repetition is noise. Conscious repetition is creation. You must feel every syllable, breathe through every declaration. You must mean it. Because when you repeat consciously, the universe recognizes your sincerity. Your repetition becomes prayer, prophecy, and command all at once. The divine responds to devotion wrapped in rhythm, and each repetition sends a message to your destiny. I am still here. I still believe. I am still expecting the miracle I spoke. When you say something 3 times, it becomes more than a phrase. It becomes a vibration that lingers. It continues to echo in your mind long after you've spoken it. That echo is what keeps your energy focused. It's what stops distraction from stealing your faith. In moments of weakness, Those repeated words rise within you like a shield. They remind you of who you are and what you've declared. That is why repetition is spiritual armor. It guards your mind from doubt, your heart from fear, and your spirit from despair. The practice of repetition also awakens gratitude. The more you repeat your declarations, the more you begin to feel grateful in advance. You begin to act as though it has already happened. That feeling of already done is what draws manifestation closer. Gratitude is the magnet that makes repetition effective. When you repeat with gratitude, you tell the universe, "I already have this." And the universe says, "Then let it be so." Repetition shapes your reality because it shifts your perspective. The more you speak light, the less room darkness has. The more you affirm strength, the less power fear holds. You begin to notice that the words you once repeated in faith now describe your life. What was once an affirmation becomes a reflection. That is how transformation occurs, slowly, silently, through consistent repetition. You don't force it, you repeat it until it feels natural. And once it feels natural, it becomes normal. Every spiritual tradition honors the power of repetition. Mantras, chants, affirmations, scripture readings all rely on the same principle. Words repeated with intention alter reality. Because repetition is remembrance. It keeps the divine truth alive in a world that constantly tries to make you forget. When you repeat, you refuse to forget who you are, what you believe, and what you are capable of. You anchor yourself in truth so deeply that no storm can uproot you. And so, the act of saying something 3 times is more than ritual. It is recognition. Recognition of your power, your partnership with the divine, your place in creation's rhythm. Each repetition strengthens the bridge between heaven and earth, between belief and manifestation. It is the divine reminder that what you say matters, that your voice carries authority, that your faith has a frequency. And when you use repetition as a spiritual practice, you no longer beg for miracles. You become the vessel through which miracles are born